There's the wink on my house. There's the wink on my house getting all the attention.
Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Adonai Melech, Adonai Malach, Adonai Yimach, Ya'alam Va'ed. Adonai Melech, Adonai Malach, Adonai Yimach, Ya'alam Va'ed.
והכיסא של אליהו נביא תחול הטוב, לשועתך קיוויתי אדוני סיברתי, לשועתך אדוני מצוותיך עשיתי, אליהו מלאך הברית, הנה שלך לפניך, עמוד על ימיני בסופכני סיברתי, לשועתך אדוני שש אנוכי, על ימתך כמוצא שלום רב, שלום רב להרבה תורתך בין המכשול אשר איתך ותקל לשכון חצריך, נשבע בטוב ביתך קדוש יחלך. טוב, בטעות, הסבא. אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר קידשנו אצלנו על המילה.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר קידשנו מצוותיו וציוונו להכניסו בבריתו של אברהם אבינו. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם שהחיינו וקיימנו והגיענו לזמן הזה. בשם אבותיי, בשם אבותיי,
But yours is not.
Adonai Eloheinu melech olam boreit v'yadofen. Baruch Adonai Eloheinu melech olam asher kidash et b'negeten b'chol b'chei rosam b'tetzo et chasam ba'os bris kodesh al kein b'chazos el chayich al keinu tzuveinu tivor latzir yididus she'eveinu b'shachas Naman Brisai Shesam B'Shavinu Baruch Adonai Kavei Sagvir.
Some more wine.
Eloheinu B'Leroseinu Kayim Et Heyel Lazel Yodevu Yomo Yikovei Shmo B'Yisrael. Boaz Calev Ben Holav Yoshua Yismacho Av B'Yotek Alotzav B'Shavim Mogus David Nor HaKosuv Yismacho v'icho v'imecho v'sogeri lo yitecho v'ne'emar v'ercho layech v'orech v'nusefes v'damayech v'ne'emar zochar li'olam v'riso dovatzivo li'elefto asher koras es Abraham u'shvoso li'Yitzchak וימיגר ליעקב לחוב לישראל בסולם, ונאמר, ויאמר לאברהם יצחק בנו בן 18 ימים, כאשר ציוו אלוהים, הודו לאדוני כי טוב לעולם חסדו. Boaz Calev Botwinick Bris זה הרצון גדול יהיה כשם כי נכנס לברית להיכנס לתורה הטובים.
בועז קלב, כן?
מרגלית.
מה?
מרגלית.
ונאמר אמן. עלינו לשבח.
Herzliya from New York, New Jersey to Israel. So people said we'd never see you again. But it turns out it was really not until we moved from the Yerushalayim Gush area out to Herzliya that really we never saw anyone again. So it's really nice for everyone who came here from wherever you were in the country, or whether people missing class, or whether people in other sides of the world Skyping in at 2:30 in the morning. We really, really appreciate it. And thank you. Where is he? Oh, baby's upstairs.
Yeah.
Boaz Calev. You are named after two family members and two intense biblical characters. Between the four of them, we hope that you'll connect to them, find inspiration from them, and carry on the legacy of all of those people. Let's start with your first name, Boaz. The inspiration for this name was Margot's bubby, her father's mother.
So when thinking of a boy's name that would be symbolic of my bubby, I wanted to choose a name that really embodied the way that I thought of her. So something that I mention a lot is I'm the granddaughter of 4 Holocaust survivors, and I'm named after my mother's mother, Bubby Margot. My brother's named after my mother's father, Shmuel. My father's father, also my cousin Yosef, is named after him, which meant that I didn't meet any of my grandparents. The only grandparent that I had was Bubby. And in that way, Bubby represented to me much more than just my grandmother, but she was representative of all of my grandparents and that entire generation of Holocaust survivors. And in that way, she also represented to me something specific that really stood out about her, because I was trying to think of like the trait that I really wanted to embody in her name, is that she was someone who continued to have perseverance despite, or maybe because of everything that she faced. No matter what was thrown her way, she continued to live on with strength. She represented to me just that entire world. She went through numerous concentration camps, and despite everything, something that really grounded her was religion. She would always talk to me about her desire for me to marry a religious boy, which I definitely did. She would speak about how many hours extra she would work hard every day and every night so that she could have enough money in order to send her 3 sons to yeshiva. That was something that was so important to her. And to me, she was the embodiment of perseverance and the internal strength that it took to keep going no matter the injustices, no matter what was thrown her way. So living 100 years of life, she lived until she was 100 years old. She outlived all of her family, she outlived all of her friends, and up until really the days before she passed away, she was really strong, and there was like always that twinkle in her eye. You could see in this picture over here, even I think this was when she was 99 years old, I believe, and like she really was just like fully there. And I remember once I was in the hospital with her in her like last days of life, and she wasn't being so responsive, and I said to her, I was holding her hand, and I said, "Bubby, if you can hear me, then, or if you're here, like squeeze my hand." And she did squeeze my hand, and I felt like that was her way of saying to me, like, don't worry, I'm still fighting, I'm still here. When I asked her once, how did you live so long, right? When she was 99 years old, we started videotaping just like normal conversations with her, just because we couldn't believe it. And once something almost like it became famous amongst our family, I said to her, how did you live so long? Like, what did you do? Like, tell us what to do. And her response was, God gave me years, which ended up becoming the title of this book that my cousins had put together with memories of her. But her response was, God gave me ears. I don't know what I did. God gave me ears, so I'm here. I don't know what to tell you. And that's something she would say a lot. And I think she recognized that her ability to keep going was not from her own personal strength, but that it was from God. And she just, something I really admired about her was that she really wanted everyone else to recognize that. So that's how we came to the name Boaz. We'll speak about the character in a minute, but just in terms of the name itself, Boaz, it can be split up into two words, meaning within him is strength, or internal strength. I also, just want to point out that when I thought about it, I thought Bubby sounded like Boaz. I'm aware that everyone's Bubby is named Bubby, but I still felt that it was meaningful to me, that it somewhat sounded alike. So that's one side of the Boaz that we saw in Bubby, her inner strength, Boaz, that perseverance, and we hope that our little Boaz will continue to have the perseverance that Bubby showed.
So there's another angle of Boaz that we felt like comes from the character himself, the character, arguably the hero of the book of Ruth. So Boaz is introduced with these very noble, flattering terms. He's introduced as an ish, gibor chayil, this wonderful, upright, upstanding, straightforward man. As soon as he starts meeting people, God is always on his mind. He says, Hashem imachem, the people respond, Yevarechecha Hashem. He has this deep religious conviction. And Boaz lives in the time of the Shoftim, which is a horrible time for the Jewish people in terms of moral standing. It's a corrupt time. There's murder, immorality everywhere. People are being taken advantage of, and yet Boaz chooses to be upright even in that time period. The first one, he sees Ruth, who is this foreign Moabite woman who no one is taking care of and looking after, and Boaz immediately says, I'm going to take care of you. Come take food from my field. When she comes to him late at night, he has every reason. He could easily take advantage of her. Nobody would ever know. And yet, he says to her, Brucha la Hashem. He calls her an Eshet Chayil. He acts with her in the most upright way, and he treats her properly. And when nobody's willing to redeem her, Boaz himself says, I'll redeem her. And he does what's right. He does the upstanding thing, regardless of the times around him. And he emerges from his time period, along with Ruth, as this great person of stature who's able to take the Jewish people from this time period of the Shoftim into the next time period of who eventually becomes the great-grandfather of David HaMelech and brings us into the next time period in that regard. So the trait that we felt like emerges from Boaz's character in the book of Ruth is also this idea of inner strength, but in the form of conviction. It's a Boaz, an inner strength to do what's right no matter what everybody else around you is doing. And we hope that also comes out in Boaz. And we felt that in that regard, this baby's birth also marks in our own lives a little bit of a reflection of this idea of conviction. When Yoshi was born, we were still back and forth about whether or not we were staying in Israel. We thought we were going back for a little bit. And now this baby is born in Israel as a bona fide Israeli. And it definitely was not an easy path to be deciding to stay here, but we feel like this baby's birth sort of marks this idea of this real struggle that we've been going through to come to a point where we feel like we're at a point where we had that conviction to say that we're staying here and this baby is born here in Israel, and we feel like Boaz is a reflection of that inner conviction. I would say also pursuing lives as educators and rabbis is not always looked on by everyone as the most positive, wonderful thing, and it sort of took some inner conviction also to sort of push that through and make that happen. And we see that being reflected in Boaz's name as well. So that's conviction. That's the second side of pursuing what you feel is right, no matter what is going on around you. And we hope that's reflected in Boaz, the inner strength.
So that's your first name, Boaz. And our bracha is that you had Bubby's perseverance and Boaz's conviction, both encapsulated as Boaz's inner strength.
Your second name, Calev, is after my Grandma Happy's brother, my great uncle Lenny Spector Zichrono Livracha. He passed away just over a year ago at the age of 78 after battling cancer for several years. Uncle Lenny was my Grandma Happy's only brother and my father's only uncle. The two families were always extremely close. They always did holidays together. Even after they moved away from each other, they continued always to make an effort to have the families come together to celebrate all the holidays together. I remember even growing up, after we were no longer doing all the holidays together, that my father would always call Uncle Lenny before Pesach and Rosh Hashanah, and I would ask him, it's so random, of all the people to be calling right before Pesach and Rosh Hashanah, why is Uncle Lenny on the list? And he would explain to me that, well, he's my only uncle, and we have this special bond, and we always got together during the holidays, and I always like to connect with him and call him before the holidays. Growing up, Uncle Lenny was always part of my family memories. He was always there at the family get-togethers, at the smachot, at Hanukkah parties. I have only fond and wonderful memories of him. When I picture Uncle Lenny, it's of him laughing at a joke, or telling a story, or greeting you with one of his big hugs and a kiss. In fact, the most recent picture that we have of Uncle Lenny, before he passed away, is actually from our own wedding. Yeah, here's a picture of him making hamotzi at our wedding. It's one of the last formal pictures, as far as I know. So we feel very lucky to have this picture with him. Uncle Lenny's Hebrew name was Lieber, which is Yiddish for loved one, from heart. And something that everyone said about him is that Uncle Lenny really lived his name, Lieber. He really had a full, open heart. And that played out in terms of how much he cared about family, how his family was always open to everyone, whether you were his immediate family, more distant, married in, whatever it was, everyone felt like he was there, really part of his family, always reaching out, making everyone feel welcome. That was his big Lieber heart. And the second way it played out is in terms of being generous, of always being just giving people what they need. You never felt like he was doing you favors. He was just always there for whatever you needed. My father likes to tell the story that when he was leaving to come to Israel to study, Uncle Lenny was with him in the airport, and he said to my father, "Hey, where's your watch?" And he said, "I don't know, I don't have a watch." And Uncle Lenny said, "How are you going to be on time to anything? You don't have a watch. Here, take my watch." He tried to give him his watch. And I just think it's a good reflective story of how just generous and caring, he always looking out for other people. So that was Uncle Lenny, kind, generous, big, loving heart. He was a real loved Lieber.
And so the name that we chose for this little guy is also a combination of two words, Calev, Kol Lev, a full heart. Calev, too, was the embodiment of someone who lived his life with a full heart, the character in Tanakh. Calev was the one spy who, when everyone else was giving up, of course he had the moral support of Yehoshua, but he was the one who was able to verbalize how he was feeling. He was the one that said, we can do this. He was the one that understood the vision for the Jewish people, the destiny of the Jewish people, what God wanted from them, and was able to say, guys, we are going to Israel, we can do this. And he does so in this outburst of love. And something that I love about Calev, and I think is really remarkable, is the way that Calev's legacy does not just stop in his one parsha in the Torah, but his story continues throughout Tanakh. When we get into Nevi'im, we have this a lot of psukim, a lot of verses, this unbelievable story where Calev then approaches Yehoshua, the leader, when they get into Israel, and he says to him, "Remember, Yehoshua, 40 years ago, you remember what happened, and God promised me that I was going to have this portion of land, and I'm telling you, I'm just as strong now as I was then. I'm just as passionate about this mission now as I was then." One second. He says, "I'm just as passionate now as I was then," and that's it. I just think it's amazing to see that it really was with a full heart, meaning his passion was able to live on throughout all of those years. And I think something even more unbelievable then is that it's not just him, but we see that passion then passes on to his kids. We have a story of his daughter also saying that, this land that you gave me, it's not good enough. I need it to be fertile. I need it to have water. If we're going to live here, I really need to make it work. And his son-in-law also is someone who comes from fighting for the land of Israel. And it's clearly something that he didn't just believe in, but he believed in it so sincerely that he was able to pass it on to other people. So in that way, we hope that the same passion that Calev was able to we hope that passion will be passed on to our Calev over here.
It's true, Calev in the Torah is known for famously saying, "Alo na'aleh," we're going to go up to Israel. I mentioned before the inner conviction that we took in coming here, but we really also want everyone to know that it was really done with kol lev, with our full open heart towards our entire family, wherever they are, and knowing that our heart really does expand to everyone, wherever you are in the world. To Boaz's Saba, Gramsta, Bubby Zaidi, Bubby Happy, Grandpa Jerry, Nana, Papa, and all of his uncles and cousins and great uncles and second cousins, etc., wherever you are in the world, mostly in America. It's true that our family is here now in Israel, but realize that this Kalev heart is a Kolev, it's a full heart, and we're really always thinking of everyone and feel very much connected to our family wherever they are. It also happens to be that Kalev's partner in crime in the Torah is Yehoshua, which is my name. And according to Midrashim, Kalev's wife is Miriam, which is Margot's name. And Kalev is from the Shevet of Yehuda, which Yoshi is from. So we felt like he would fit right into our family, so that worked out well also. One last thing. It's hard not to mention that we find ourselves right now between the two parshiot of Lech Lecha and Vayera, both of which introduce and talk about the idea of a Brit Milah in the Torah. Also, I looked it up. Kalev's Bar Mitzvah Parsha in 13 years is Lech Lecha, which introduces the idea of Brit Milah. So just thinking back to that original Brit that God made with the Jewish people here in Israel so many years ago, realizing that here we are so many years later, continuing on that Brit, continuing in that covenant with God and His people. And we really just hope our little guy can continue on that tradition, thousands of years old, with people and with God over the course of his life.
So Boaz, Calev, may you have internal strength, may you live life with a full heart, and may the legacies of Boaz, Calev, Bubby, and Uncle Lenny propel you forward, give you the perseverance and conviction, and a big heart to continue our tradition forward, bringing pride to your predecessors, to your family, and to your people.